Welcome to Smart Wealth with Joshua.
Your daily stock analysis and catalysts talk. Today we're looking at Mobix Labs.
If you find our talks useful, please consider subscribe, like, and comment underneath. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. We are looking at a company today that's, well, it's living two completely different lives.
That's a really good way to put it.
On one side, you have a stock chart that looks like it's sleeping. It's just quiet, almost boring.
Right.
But then you look inside the business, and they are pivoting, and I mean hard, into some of the most intense, high-stakes industries on the planet.
Absolutely. We're talking about the hardware that keeps Navy destroyers connected and, prevents 5G networks from crashing.
It's a huge contrast.
It really is a tale of two realities.
Yeah.
The company is Mobix Labs. And to really get why there's such a disconnect, you have to start with one specific word.
Which is?
Fabless. It's central to their entire identity.
Right, fabless. It sounds like something's missing, but in the semiconductor world, that's actually a strategy. So let's unpack that before we get into the weeds.
We have to, yeah. It explains their entire financial structure. So fabless just means they design the brains, the chips, the architecture, all the connectivity solutions, but they don't own the massive billion-dollar factories.
The fabs.
Exactly. The fabs that actually print the silicon.
So it's like being a world-class architect.
Yeah.
You design the skyscraper, every single beam, every stress test, but you don't own the cement trucks.
That's the perfect analogy. You hire a specialized firm to do the heavy lifting from your blueprints.
And the capital efficiency there must be huge.
Oh, it is. Building a modern foundry is one of the most expensive things humans can do. By skipping that, Mobix can move incredibly fast. They can pivot a design for, say, a new Navy radar system in weeks, not months.
Because they're not retooling a whole assembly line they own. They just send new schematics.
Exactly.
But doesn't that come with a trade-off? If you don't own the factory, you don't really control the schedule, do you? You're kind of at the mercy of the supply chain.
That is the classic risk, for sure. But Mobix isn't trying to pump out, 10 million chips for a budget smartphone where the margins are razor thin.
Right.
They are targeting what we call high reliability markets.
High reliability. That sounds a little like corporate speak for it works.
It's a lot more intense than that. I mean, think about the difference between your Bluetooth headphones disconnecting and a missile guidance system losing its signal.
Okay, yeah, point taken.
High reliability means failure is just not an option. We're talking medical devices, industrial machinery, and very specifically, the U.S. Navy.
And that brings us to the pivot point, doesn't it? Because looking at the sources, there was a huge piece of news recently that really changes the whole narrative here.
It's like they're graduating.
Yes.
They secured a multi-year follow-on production contract with a prime U.S. Navy contractor. This is the signal investors were waiting for.
So this isn't just a prototype anymore.
No, this is the transition from we have a cool idea in the lab to we are actually manufacturing things that are going on to warships.
That is a massive leap.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed they're actually moving physically to handle this.
They are. They're transitioning to a larger military-approved facility, and this is a detail that's so easy to miss.
You can't just rent any old warehouse for this stuff.
No way. You need specific certifications, security clearances, infrastructure that meets Department of Defense standards. The fact they're scaling up like that tells you this is not a one-off order. They're gearing up for volume.
Okay, so we have the tech, we have the Navy contract, we have the new, fortress of a headquarters, but now I have to play the bad cop. I have to be the grumpy accountant for a minute.
I had a feeling we were heading here.
Because I pulled the balance sheet before we started, and honestly, I thought my screen was broken. The numbers are.
Stark.
Stark is being polite. Let's just run through them. Trailing 12-month EPS is negative $1.10. Net income is sitting at negative $20 million. Mm-hmm. And the net margins, I had to triple check this, negative 381%. Return on equity is negative 5,149%. I mean, how do you even justify numbers that read?
It looks like a crime scene, I agree, but you have to put on your SPAC goggles to see what's happening here.
SPAC goggles. Okay, explain.
Well, remember, this company came public through a SPAC.
Yeah.
And when that happens, especially in tech, you get this messy period where all the costs, the merger, the stock compensation to keep talent, the massive R&D spend, it all hits the books at once.
Right before the revenue really turns on.
Exactly. So what you're seeing is an accounting creator from the process of going public, not necessarily a sign the business itself is broken.
Okay, but it's still a mix, right?
Yeah.
They're definitely burning cash.
For sure. This is the bonfire phase of a startup. But the magnitude of that negative percentage is skewed because the revenue base is just so low right now. It's like judging a construction site for being messy.
But that cash burn is real.
Yeah.
I mean, a debt-to-equity ratio of 3.25, that's leverage. And the current ratio is 0.14. That usually screams liquidity crisis.
It does, but the stability comes from their structure and, crucially, their leadership. We're talking about CTO James Morales, Chairman James J. Peterson.
Yep.
These aren't kids in a garage.
They've played this game before.
Many times. And they are intentionally prioritizing reinvestment in their intellectual property over showing a pretty profit margin right now.
So the argument is, don't look at the quarterly loss. Look at the patent portfolio they're building with that cash.
Precisely. They're betting everything on their IP, their RF tech, their EMI filtering. They believe once production ramps up with this Navy contract, those margins will flip very, very quickly.
Okay, let's talk about that IP, because that gets us to the moat.
Yeah.
Why can't a giant like Qualcomm just wake up, decide to build this, and just crush Mobix?
That is the right question to ask. And Qualcomm is a beast, but it's a beast designed for mass markets, billions of smartphones.
Right.
Mobix has dug a moat around a very specific, very difficult niche, electromagnetic interference, or EMI, filtering for mission-critical hardware.
EMI filtering. Let's break that down. Why is that so important?
Well, try to visualize the environment. You're on a Navy destroyer. You have massive radar arrays, missile defense systems, secure comms, huge engines.
All jammed into a steel box.
Exactly. It is a metal box screaming electronic noise at itself. Now imagine you're tracking an incoming missile. You have milliseconds to respond. If your radar data cable picks up noise from the engine room,
You miss the target. Or worse, you shoot a ghost.
the margin for error is zero. This is where Mobix comes in with their connectors and cables that ensure signal purity. They have a specific tech called True Zero active optical cables.
Active optical, so we're moving from copper to light.
That's the key. Copper acts like an antenna. It just naturally picks up interference. Optical cables transmit data using light. They're immune to EMI.
So it's the noise-canceling headphones for a battleship.
That's a great way to put it.
But the business side of this, the tech is good, but what's the actual business moat?
The moat here isn't just the tech, it's the bureaucracy. It's what we call the regulatory moat.
The red tape again.
The red tape. Getting a piece of hardware certified for a U.S. Navy vessel takes years of rigorous testing, security audits.
Which sounds awful for Mobix.
It is awful to get in, but here's the brilliant part. Once you are in, you are in. The Navy isn't going to rip out all the wiring on a ship because a competitor is 5 cents cheaper.
The switching costs are massive.
Incredible. Once Mobix components are designed into that ship, they're likely there for the life of the vessel. That creates incredibly sticky revenue.
A fortress.
Exactly. And that is why the current share price might be so deceptive.
Okay, let's look at that share price. I pulled up the chart, and honestly, it's pretty boring. It's just quiet, no major breakouts. It just looks like consolidation.
And the sentiment score reflects that too. It's neutral because there are no splashy headlines. It feels like the market is just sleeping on this one.
Which, that's the opportunity, isn't it? There's a massive disconnect here. I mean, you look at algorithmic scores like Market Rank, and they hate this stock.
They do.
They have Mobix in the 12th percentile. It's ranked 650th out of 668 tech stocks.
That's brutal.
It is. But algorithms only look at the past. They see those ugly earnings numbers and they vomit. They don't see the relationships. Mobix has over 15 Fortune 500 customers, a 98% customer success rating.
The algorithm hasn't caught up to the fact that the U.S. Navy just signed on the dotted line.
That's the bet. You're betting the human relationships will eventually become the financial data the algorithms love. But by then,
the price will likely be much higher. The computer sees a money-losing startup. The human analysis sees a defense contractor in the making.
So, looking forward, what's the catalyst calendar? What dates am I circling?
The big one is going to be the earnings reports, specifically looking toward the Q1 2026 10Q.
That specific, why wait until 2026?
Because that's when the revenue from this new Navy production contract should really start hitting the books in a meaningful way. Until then, it's promise and preparation. That Q1 26 report, that's the proof.
And we have to talk about the macro trends. The world is, let's just say it's complicated.
To put it mildly, and rising geopolitical tensions drive a sector rotation into defense and aerospace. When Congress passes a huge defense spending bill, that money trickles down.
From the prime contractors to their suppliers.
And Mobix is positioning itself to catch that flow. Also, keep an eye on aerospace expos. That's where they might reveal new product lines, maybe an mmWave for 5G, that could spark interest beyond the military.
Before we get to risks, I saw a note about Talking Heads Wireless. It was flagged as speculative, but it caught my eye. What's that?
Oh, that's the wild card in the deck. There are some early indicators of a collaboration around AI-enhanced semiconductor systems.
AI, of course. But how does it fit here? Are they building ChatGPT for radios?
Not quite. Think about signal processing. Right now, a chip processes a signal based on hard-coded logic. But what if the chip could use AI to learn, to predict interference before it happens?
Oh, to optimize bandwidth in real time on a crowded battlefield.
You got it. If Mobix can embed that intelligence into their smart cables, they stop being just a hardware company. They become a data intelligence company.
And the market valuation would probably disconnect from reality.
Completely. It's speculative, but it's a lottery ticket worth watching.
Okay, but we have to do the risk assessment. What's the bear case? What keeps you up at night with this one?
Execution risk. It always is with small caps. Remember that debt to equity of 3.25?
The leverage.
Yeah. It's great when you're growing, deadly if you stall. They don't have an infinite runway. If that Navy contract gets delayed, and government contracts get delayed all the time.
They'll run out of cash.
Exactly. They're burning it every month.
Well,
If they burn through their reserves, they'll have to raise more money, which means issuing more shares.
diluting current shareholders.
Yeah.
The stock price drops.
Right. And as a former SPAC, this thing is volatile. It has low liquidity. A big investor sells, and the price can tank 20% in a day. This is not a savings bond.
You have to be strapped in for the roller coaster.
You have to be willing to see a lot of red days.
All right, let's wrap this up. Final investment thesis. Give us the verdict.
I'm giving Mobix Labs a bullish score of 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10, solid. Gives the elevator pitch.
Okay, here it is. This is a pure play on secure connectivity. You have a verified regulatory moat in the defense sector. The Navy contracts are confirmed. The financials are ugly, yes, but they are backward-looking. The production ramp-up is the future.
And the timeline. How long are we holding?
This is a multi-year hold. You're buying this for the transition from R&D to production. You want to hold this until at least 2026 to see those contracts reflected in the earnings. It's not a day trade.
Patience is key.
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We talked about AI and military hardware.
Hmm?
Everyone focuses on the brain, the big NVIDIA processors. But an AI is only as good as the data it gets. If the nervous system, the cables, the connectors is jammed or slow, the AI is useless.
That's a great point. Smartest brain in the world is useless if the nerves are severed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So could Mobix's smart cables become the nervous system for the next generation of defense AI? If they do, they're not just a cable company anymore. They're a critical part of autonomous warfare. Something to think about.
That connects all the dots perfectly.
Thanks for diving in with us today.
Always a pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Smart Wealth with Joshua. We'll catch you on the next one.